Hello everyone, this is Amy, the Mystic Rose Tarot. It's Friday, August 14th, and I am here to do a deck review, actually two deck tarot reviews of the Unified Esoteric Tarot and the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot, created by Attilio Blaga, I believe. He's based in Romania. And I've been waiting for these two decks for a while because they correspond with what I've been working with the last 2 weeks now. It incorporates astrology with the tarot, but these two specific decks add more into the mix. They, outside of incorporating astrology, they also bring in elements of Hermeticism, one deck more than the other. They both cover aspects of the Tree of Life, numerology, alchemy. I think I already said that already. It's a wonderful deck. The thing that's different with these decks is just imagery. There's no storyline that's involved in this. These decks are purely focused on the elements, the signs, as you will see. And the deck comes, the signs, and the deck comes across more like as more like a learning tool. But by going through these two particular decks, I feel that it will actually deepen your tarot practice. As I have mentioned in my 3 videos, that by breaking down the major and minor arcana into astrological elements, I was focusing more with the Golden Dawn astrological correspondences when I was doing these videos. But when you bring in those elements of the planets and the signs and the minor arcana, how they relate to the court cards, and then specifically these two decks, the Tree of Life, you get a better understanding of like a regular tarot deck. So it's been interesting, and today I actually got a moment. I've taken some time off from doing tarot and looking at decks. I've been a little burned out, but later today I went through these two particular decks and I separated them. They do have a numerical order from 1 to 78, but the numbers that are here in one particular deck versus the other are completely different. So what I've done is, and this is how I'm going to do the review of both decks, is I am going to do a breakdown of these decks based on the minor arcana to include the seasons. The seasons are with the aces. And we're going to go through the court cards, the cards that are of the 12 astrological signs in the major arcana. And also what's great is it's just with the Unified Esoteric Tarot. The Unified Esoteric Tarot version, which you'll see, also includes the houses. So we're going to have the houses, we're going to have the elements, we're going to have the alchemical symbols, we're going to have the signs, we're going to have the planets. It's all rolled up into this one particular deck. The Aquarian Hermetic deck also has the same setup, but the Tree of Life in particular is designed differently. The Aquarian Hermetic Tarot they're both in the Unified Esoteric Tarot, they're both incorporating the same elements, but visually, the way that it's approached is different from the Unified Esoteric Tarot deck. So you'll see this. This is going to end up being a long video, but I want to go through this so you can see a comparison of these decks. It's a wonderful deck. I'm just going to give a little bit of a back history from what I know about it. This deck came out in 2018. It's still a limited edition. I think only 750 copies were made. There's less than, I think, 35 of these decks available, these two particular decks. Attila has created some other decks as well. If you go to his website, I have his link in the description. You will see some other decks that he has, but those are, I believe, also limited edition as well. I have not met Attila. We've just emailed back and forth. I feel he's a wonderful spirit. He's great with communicating. He's open to answer any questions. He's quick with his email replies. So if you want to get into his brain, go to his website first, and you'll get a sense of where he's coming from. I'm not going to say he's like Benabel Wen, because he's more experienced than Benabel, but he has so much knowledge to share about esotericism, hermeticism, the history of tarot. I really want to give props to this gentleman, and I want to draw attention to these decks. Now, visually, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, there's no storyline for these decks. So these decks are purely iconic, symbolic. You can do readings with them. You have to be creative when you use these decks, and have a really first knowledge of the tarot and astrology, and a little bit of alchemical. It's not so much an end-all for these decks, but it's good to have some understanding. But here's the great thing with these decks, both of these decks, you can actually learn from them. If you were to buy one of these decks and put it aside with your Rider-Waite-Smith, I'm going to stick to that because I feel it's very true. I think if you stick to the Rider-Waite-Smith or some of the more traditional style decks, I think you may be able to follow the use of these decks with the deck that you're working with. So I mentioned some of the more contemporary decks. They don't really focus so much on these aspects. We have Robert M. Place's tarot, the Alchemical Tarot, which could be a good starting point. There are some other decks, they're not coming to my mind right now. Tarot of the Holy Light, which infuses alchemical symbology and astrology. The astrology, though, is different. So when we go through these, the signs and their placement is going to be different. And this is getting your practice and the way that you work with the tarot to think differently. And I think that's very important when you're building a tarot practice and you're very serious about it, and you're grooving with the way you're understanding things. These two decks will take it a step further. And as I have mentioned in my previous videos, the 3-part series, I have mentioned a few times that by exploring your tarot deck in other ways, looking for some different symbols, looking for different meanings in how we normally see and experience the tarot, will change your perspective, and you will see things differently, and it will also deepen your interpretation of these when you do readings. So I think it's very important. I think a lot of people, when they come across this video, they're expecting to see known cards. And on this channel here, I explore some known decks, but for the most part, I'm looking for decks that really can challenge me. I guess I could say that, challenge me in the way how I read and how I see. So that's my perspective, specifically with the tarot. And I'll do soft readings in the sense that I'll keep away from all the logic and the rationale when it comes to the tarot. I explore more of the spiritual and the healing side, because that's more of where I'm coming from. But the last few weeks, my mind has been in the sword, air, Mercury perspective. I'm wanting to expand and change the way that I work with the tarot. Okay, so with that being said, let's jump into our first deck, the Unified Esoteric Tarot. I'm very simple when it comes to my storing of decks. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. There's 78 cards for each. This is our, I call it opening card. And then we see the elements here, and underneath the elements, we see what they represent. Air for thought. It's backwards here. Earth for facts, fire for desires, and water for emotions. And then we see our planets here. Mutable for Mercury, fixed, salt, and cardinal sulfur for our elements here. And these elements we will see throughout actually both of these decks. But again, visually, they are going to be different in the representation. And this is the back of the cards. You can tell there's fingerprints. It's not really matte. It's not glossy. You could say it's semi-gloss and semi-matte, but there are fingerprints. The fingerprints are only going to be an issue if you're doing what I'm doing to showcase the cards. So if I tilt it back, it's black, and you see the coloring that shows up throughout the deck. And then we have our first quarter or last quarter moon phase, depending on how you see it. So yes, there are fingerprints on it, but yeah, that's fine. If you're particular about that, if you're a connoisseur and you really want the quality of your decks to be high, I'm not going to say this is your deck. This deck is focused on information. The card stock, I believe he mentioned, is 300 GSM. I will show you here. It is bendy. So go easy on the shuffling. I'm not an aggressive shuffler, so these cards aren't going to bend. But be careful if you get a little bit too handy with the cards. I already have a little bent in some of the cards, but it doesn't bother me, especially when it's black. It doesn't show up that much. So inside the Unified Esoteric deck, this is the pamphlet that you get with it. Again, it shows the same alchemical symbology. Let me put this here side by side. It represents the elements here. The perspective that he put into these decks are more theory-based. And there's more of a, as I mentioned earlier, a logical, scientific perspective to these cards. So try not to be put off too much by that. It's not a big deal, but you will see with these cards that it does enhance the thinking aspect of how we use these cards in particular, and also with our regular. And haven't shown cards yet. Let me do a quick introduction to the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot. It came out this year, 2020, so it's a brand new deck. And this deck in particular, even though it's practically a sister twin deck to the Unified Esoteric Tarot, there are differences, and as I have mentioned, visually this deck is quite different from the UET deck. This has photos, but they're very subtle. There's images that represent water, sky, earth, and fire. So with this purchase, it looks blue, but it's actually a deep purple bag. Good quality. And then this is our title card, our opening card. Again, we see the alchemical references here. And let's see how close I could get. You see here, These images here, we have water, fire. The green here is actually blades of grass, and the yellow is the sky. You can't see the images well, but these images are concurrent when we go through the pentacles and swords. This is the back of the card. So you can do reversible readings with this. This is the pamphlet that comes with it. And another thing that's different, I think it is in the other deck. This deck also pays reference to the suits. So we have our, see here, our spade. Let me go closer here. We have our spade for air, clubs for fire, heart for cups, and then our diamond. It's our diamond in here. Yeah. Our diamond is for our pentacles or coins. And this is the inside. It's pretty, this has a little bit more information. It breaks down a little bit more. Move forward here to the Fool, the planets and their placement, and the sign in relation to the major arcana, the court cards, the elements, and we have the zodiac sign from domicile to conjunction. And then we have the Kabbalah. References also based by the three attributes of cardinal, fixed, and mutable. And then here, it's coming up backwards. These are the alchemical attributions and the 12 steps of development. And these 12 steps are represented in the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot. So as I have mentioned, this deck in particular falls more in line with alchemical processes and meaning when it comes to the arcanas here. So it is a bit much, but I think it's a wonderful way of experiencing the tarot. Let's see how quick I could go through these. So this is going to be the astrological signs. This is focusing on the major arcana. Okay, so let's see how I'm going to show this. Okay. Card here to my left, your right. This is the Unified Esoteric Tarot. This one here to my right, your left, I believe, is the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot. So as you can see, we have the same meanings, but the design is different. I'm not going to go and spend a lot of time. We have the hours of influence during the time frame of these cards. For the Aquarian Hermetic here, so this emphasizes the Emperor. So as you notice here, we get a nice interpretation of the planets and star that influences Aries. Here we have the Sun. Here we have Jupiter and Mars. And these also affect the other fire signs within those elements. So Sagittarius and Leo. And then as you notice here, astrologically, we have the wheel, and it's highlighted. Go even closer. there is for Aries. There's a reason why it's blue, and I can't recall why it is. You would think it's red, but it's placed in blue. And we have the upside meaning of the card, and then we have the reverse meaning of the card. Or the other way around. And again, we have the time, the month that Aries rules, and gives a breakdown of its personality. We have here reactive, extrovert, calcination. So again, we have the alchemical interpretation. I love this symbol. It's very, very nice. So again, we have enthusiasm, rage, upright version, upright meaning, and the reverse meaning. Let me do these readings. Here we have Leo. Remember the sign, the planets that we saw? Jupiter, Mars, and the Sun. So the planet that the sign rules remains on top. So we have the Sun, we have the fire element here. Going closer. I'm sorry, that's the personality suit. This is fixed, and then we have here fire. Sagittarius, ruled under Jupiter. And it gives the card. Now, Sagittarius we would normally see as the Wheel of Fortune, but here it is assigned to justice. So that's what I was saying earlier, is that astrologically and with the tarot, the placement of these signs are going to be different. So here we have Cancer, and it's associated with the Chariot. To emphasize the moon. Let's see, I gotta do something very quick so my order. Lots of powerful symbology here. Scorpio, transcendence. And here he refers to Scorpio as little death. Little's in parentheses. And then we have the planets, Neptune, Pluto, and the moon. Not Mars, but this one. And then with the Aquarian Hermetic, we see our astrological wheel, we see the influence that's emphasized, we see the time of influence during the season, personality of being an introvert, chemical influence of salt, and again the upright and reverse meanings. And as you can see here, it's the same. Okay, so we're moving right now into the water signs. Now here, this is different, okay? Keep an eye out on what's happening here. The Hermit is placed in the sign of Pisces, not Virgo. And it's seen as compassion. So that's what I was saying again. This deck offers a different perspective of how we normally know our associations with the tarot. So the Hermit here is seen as Pisces. Again, we have the 3 planets. Here, the planet that rules Pisces is Neptune. And then we have the reverse meaning of disconnection. So you can see how they could start, how the decks are just visually, they're different, but they can still work together. And again, the deck is very category-oriented in the sense that, you break these up into the astrological signs, like what I'm doing right now. So you can almost do readings just specifically with the major arcana signs. If there's something just you need to get some direction with, a quick aspect of astrology, you can use the cards that I'm going through right now. Okay, so now we're moving into our air sign. The Magician here is seen as Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. We have Uranus. We have Venus. See, so that's what I'm saying. It's different. The Magician again is placed according to the system, the sign of Gemini. Again, the time of influence during the season. Personality, dual mental extrovert, and then of course the alchemical symbol, separation. In Libra, see, temperance, not Sagittarius. Again, it just allows you to think differently. Libra here is ruled by Venus. We have Aquarius, which is Uranus. And here it's seen as the world. I'm going to timestamp this like I normally do because I pack in so much information when I do my, especially I'm double dipping into 2 decks here. Perseverance, Taurus. And then only drawback with the Aquarian Hermetic is you can't even see it here. With some of the images, or most of the images, right now this is solid colors, but when we go through some of the other images, they're very faint. The type is kind of difficult to see. It's like it's black, but it's outlined in white, and it's kind of hard for it to show up, but it's there. So I need to point out, because it's the first time we're seeing it since starting this. This is the sign of Ceres, and Ceres is seen to be the influence for Taurus, and then we have Saturn, and then we have the Earth element there. So again, they're similar. You know, we still have the alchemical symbology, but here it is ruled by the Empress. And I have to look back here. Active, practical, introvert. And then the alchemical process is solution. Solution, dissolution, / dissolution. I love the High Priestess symbology here. So the bottom of this says, I can't even read it with my lighting here. Discrimination is our reversed, and order is our upright meaning. And then we have season of influence. We're getting close to this. So this is actually seen as Virgo. The High Priestess in this particular system is viewed as Virgo. And so you notice here, I forgot to point out, we start seeing the house of influence for each of these signs. And this is the 6th house for health and work, which is properly placed for Virgo because they are of service. And like to be of service, they deal with health, helping others. So then our last 12, this is a wonderful card. Look at our Hierophant, but our Hierophant is not Taurus, it is Capricorn. And we have the 3 crosses of the Aquarian Hermetic, Sun to Moon, Mars to Venus, Jupiter to Mercury. We have Capricorn, properly placed in the sign of Saturn. And we have Ceres, and then Earth, all symbolic of Earth influences. So again, this is seen as the Hierophant, which is different. We have the numbers 1111. Our upright is ambition, and then our reverse is restrictions. And then here, again, we have the season of influence, which is our winter months, December 22nd to January 21st, which is the month of Capricorn. And these are the time of influence for this card. So again, it's different, and don't be put off by this. It's just a different way of reading the tarot, and it's good to be challenged every now and then with something different. And I'm starting to sense more astrology being emphasized within the tarot. So these decks are wonderful to get if you want to explore that further. Okay, so happy to have a large table here. But still wanting to do down shots. I'll get to that point at some time soon. Okay, so that was our 12 astrological signs, comparing the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot with the Unified Esoteric Tarot, which is the black version, and the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot is only color. It's brand new, and this is the only version they have. Let's see here. Let's do the Tree of Life. I want to go through some of the smaller amount of cards. Okay, so there's a little twist with the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot, and I had to contact Attila about this because I thought there was a printing error. The Tree of Life representation with the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot starts with the Fool and goes all the way down to the Devil. And I'm going to show you those cards in the order of the Tree of Life. So I'm going to go like this. You'll see. Now, with the Aquarian Tree of Life, we start off with the Fool. But when I was reviewing the decks, when I first got it, I noticed I'm missing something. This is the first card. This is the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot. This is the first card to represent the Tree of Life. And there's no image. There's nothing there. And I just wanted to be certain if this was a printing error, and I contacted him. And he said that's actually intentional. And he showed me a picture of one of the decks that he has that has this card. They're all printed like this. The Fool, as you know, is going into the unknown. It's also representing the beginning and the ending of things. So this is representing what has yet to come. So he left it blank, but we still get the upright and reversal meanings of the Fool / the Joker. So just FYI, if you get the Aquarian Hermetic deck, don't feel like you got shorted. I think some people may not like this, but I'm working with it. I think one card that stands out different from the rest of a deck, especially with a deck that's dealing with theory and logic, this shouldn't be too much of an issue. Okay, so again, this is the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot, and this is the Unified Esoteric Tarot. So here, we're starting with the Tree of Life. Okay, where Mars is in the impulsive side, the Fool. You see the planet of influence, and the sign that's in Mars in Cancer. And it says fall to square 90 degrees and calcination. So it does have the alchemical interpretation. Reactive, instinctive, extrovert, representing the qualities of Mars in Cancer. Okay, so again, don't be surprised when you order the deck and you get this. It's intentional. Okay, so we're working now with the Tree of Life portion of this deck. So we see as we're moving, we're going to be going more like this, down, cross, down. I think I'm doing it reverse, but we're going in that order. So we're going to go from the Fool all the way to the Devil. We have the Sun in Pisces, representing the Sun. So again, different interpretations. Upright meaning is love. The reverse is self-pity. Sun in Pisces. And here, I love how these lines are radiating around this star. But again, we see our month of rulership from February 20th to March 20th for the month of Pisces. And again, we see our astrological wheel, the color code of influence, or the color code to point out to the sign. So all the information that we see here is on the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot, but it's just placed differently. And the emphasis is probably a little bit more visual with the Aquarian Hermetic versus the Unified Esoteric Tarot. So we have here Wheel of Fortune, placed in Jupiter. And we have the element here. You see it in mutable Mercury. Sorry about that. And then the same here, Mercury, fire, Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune here is placed in Sagittarius. Chances and then risks for the reverse meaning. Fourth card in the Tree of Life. Again, I'm not going to be giving explanations of the meanings for the Tree of Life. That could be explored separately. We have Pluto in Gemini. Pluto affiliate with the Tower, but placed in the sign of Gemini. So here, So here we have the lightning bolt pushing down to the star. We have innovation and then dispersion. The Hangman, ruled by Neptune. The Tree of Life, Neptune and Sagittarius. So here we see Sagittarius. We don't really see the sign for Neptune in the Aquarian Hermetic. It's emphasized here in the Tree of Life. And the other thing too is the order that I'm doing this in the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot is just following with the Tree of Life with the Unified Esoteric Tarot. So you can see the difference in the imagery. Okay, and again, all of these planets and signs are placed in the major arcana for the Tree of Life. We have the Moon in Libra. Partnership and then distrust for our reversed meeting. And again, it's reversed with our alchemical symbology, so it's the same, only on the Aquarian Hermetic, not on this. So let me do it like this so you can see. It's funny, when you first get a deck and you don't do readings with it, but you're doing a look through and you're trying to get familiar with it. At first, it's like you're sort of looking in dim light for some information, but as you spend more time with it, the light becomes brighter. And that's what's happening with this deck for me. And here is, get a little closer here. Uranus and Polaris. I do not know what Polaris is. I think it's one of the associating planets, possibly with Uranus. If anyone knows, please let me know. I'd like to be informed. This is for the star. I think he meant to say star, but we have the stars. If not, it's fine. Ruled by Aquarius for the month of January 21st to February 19th. And it's courage, and then, it's guidance, upright position, and then drift. The Lovers, which is now in the sign of Virgo, not Gemini. I'll go closer here. It's decision and worries. Because it's outlined, the type is outlined, you can't really see that white highlight, which really doesn't emphasize the bottom and top. Video-wise, it's hard, but it's there, and it's viewable. But just on the video, you don't see it too well. So Mercury in Virgo for the lovers. And this is for August 23rd, September 22nd, which we are coming close to. Revelation, guilt, and debt. And both cards have the same meanings on the bottom. And again, it's just the way that the type turned out in the Aquarian Hermetic. Cover this image. This is for judgment. And judgment here is placed in Capricorn. Just want to see something. And again, all of these, with the exception of the Aquarian Hermetic, it shows the house placement. And the houses do follow. There's no change in what the houses represent with this deck. It's only, the houses are only shown in the Unified Esoteric Tarot, not in the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot. And the Devil, which is now Saturn in Aries. It's not Capricorn. And here we go. So we've moved down the tree of life with the Unified Esoteric Tarot. And this side is the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot. Enslavement, and then the reverse is frustration, which seems suitable for Saturn in Aries. We don't like to be enslaved. Aries. I have some Aries in me. That's why I said we. And the Devil, for challenges. Reactive, instinctive, extrovert, the alchemical. Interpretation is exaltation. Which I think, yeah. Go closer, you will see right here. Exaltation. And here. So the information is the same, it's just the way it's designed on both of the decks and their placement. And the Aquarian Hermetic here uses the astrological wheel throughout most of its deck to explain its meanings. But I feel that if you want a deck that's a little bit more astrologic, planet influence, I would stick to the Unified Esoteric Tarot because it emphasizes more that. It does here being the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot, but the design's different. And I feel like there's less emphasis on the astrology with the Aquarian Hermetic, and more on the alchemical side and a little bit of hermeticism with that deck. Alrighty, so we've done our signs, we've done our tree of life. Okay, sure got this all in order. Okay, so that's done. That part's done. Let's do our court cards. So this is the order, the way that I'm showing you, this is the order that I placed these two decks in. They have numerical orders from 1 to 78. Those numbers are very clear. Hang on a second. These numbers are very clear on the unified esoteric deck, but on the Aquarian, teeny, teeny, teeny. They're right up there. Right up there. I don't know why the numbers are small. I know the numbers aren't to be of great importance. Also, that just reminds me, the numerology aspect is emphasized more on the unified esoteric as opposed to the Aquarian. So that's probably partly why the numbers are on the smaller side with the Aquarian. So let's go through the court cards. The court cards also show the houses. I want to emphasize the houses. They're written there. And on the Aquarian, there's no house information. So we're going through our court cards. I'm doing from pages to the king. And I'm going in the elemental suit. Sorry of wands, cups, swords, and discs or pentacles. So you can see here the court cards completely different. Here we see the image of flames in the back to represent the fiery aspect of the wands. Again, here's our astrological wheel and pointing reference to our page of swords, our page of wands to be in Sagittarius. And here we have the upright meaning, freedom of thought. Reverse is mind games. Again, we have the same here. And here we start seeing, with the Aquarian Hermetic, more of a cartomancy influence. We start seeing the clubs, the diamonds, the spades, and the hearts. On this deck, not so much. You may see a little bit on the crown. I think it shows up on the kings and queens, not so much on the pages. I believe the pages for cartomancy are jacks. And the court cards also represent, this is the Unified Esoteric Tarot, we start seeing this dynamic energy. Mercury and Sagittarius. So this is the first layer. And then here we just have the Jack of Clubs. So as you can see, the energy is different. It's dynamic. I feel it's more dynamic here than it is here. So now we're going into our Knight of Wands. We see blue. So here we see our page, Knight. Knight of Wands, Venus and Aries. It has the house placement. It's showing it reversed for me. First house, house of self. And again, throughout the Aquarian Hermetic deck, this card here, or on this side that I'll be showing, we still get the time of influence during that season. The Knight of Wands represents the time, the season of March 21st to April 20th, which is Aries, and the time of influence for, 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. And then we see the Queen of Wands, Venus and Leo. I'm sorry, not Venus, Uranus and Leo. And then as you see here with the Aquarian Hermetic, Queen of Clubs. And you see right here, it's really small, but there's an outline of the club on top of the crown. It's there. It's just very small. You see the planet there, Uranus, and you see the 5th house of creativity. Impatience, upright, and then arrogance is our reverse. So then we have our King of Wands. And then, of course, for all the kings, when we go through this, we're going to be seeing the symbol for the wands, or for the wands and the clubs. And the wands, the swords, the coins, and cups. So we, again, same meanings. Astrological wheel for the Aquarian Hermetic is the Page of Cups. We have compassion here, but here for the Page of Cups, it's showing self-examination, but the reverse is still the same, moodiness. And as I was mentioning, we have a backdrop, a picture backdrop for all the elements in the Aquarian Hermetic. And here, of course, we see the water, ocean waves. We see the Page of Cups, the Jack of Hearts, so I think you're starting to get a sense as to how this deck is coming from seeing this. And so we have Saturn in Cancer with Earth. The element is fixed salt. And then our king cards, as I was mentioning earlier, is just the symbol of a cup. Mars and Scorpio. And then here are our king card. We see the circle smaller with the energy of the person moving more downward, from green to blue to red. And those colors are there. It's just not viewable from my screen here. So we have flames, and then changes. Mars and Scorpio. Okay, so now we're going into our air. Jupiter and Gemini, Page of Swords. Again, pages, we see the green energy of beginning to take action. And here we have the Spades, Jack of Spades, and the Aquarian Hermetic. Prevention, passive aggressive. Mars and Libra. Knight of Swords. So we see the representation. Again, these are the court cards and their houses in relation to the methodology of both of these decks. And again, seasonally, we see our influence. This is reactive mental extrovert. A Knight of Swords, September 23rd to October 22nd, which is the month of Libra. Time of influence, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Then as the Queen, so the energy moving down, coming maybe a little bit more towards grounding. This is Sun in Aquarius, Queen of Swords. And again, here's this subtle image of our Queen of Hearts here. I'm sorry, Queen of Spades. We have her King of Swords. Moon in Aquarius. Actually, the King and Queen, I think they both represent the same downward energy that we see here. So now we're moving into our sign of discs. There's Neptune in Virgo. Our pages. Jack of Diamonds. Knight of Discs, Moon in Capricorn. This is okay. So this is our blades of grass. I forgot to point out the yellow aspect representing air. Pluto in Taurus, Queen of Discs. Efficiency versus obsession. Houses the astrological placement, detriment, opposition, sublimation. Same information here. So this information that you see here on the bottom is placed here on the side for the Aquarian Hermetic. King of Diamonds, you see the diamond symbol here. Venus and Taurus. King of Discs. Stability. Fixation. And then we have the qualities, and we have sign fixed, and it's element. Libra, Capricorn, and Aries to represent the start of our seasons. So what I'm going to do here is, this is the Aquarian Hermetic Tarot. They don't really focus, they have emphasis here on the season to show that it's June, the summer solstice. And here we see it visually by the representation of this tree. So here we see summer, everything, the summer season. We see trees blooming, everything is at its peak. We see the roots here, condition of the roots. And for the unified esoteric, all the seasons for the upright position are opportunities, and I believe on the bottom it's setback. Here, there's no emphasis like we see here. The numbers, there's no number reference. There is a number, it's way up there and it's very tiny. But this, again, focuses more on the sign and the alchemical process. So Ace of Cups, we have the heart there, one heart, ocean. Got it. All right, we're going into our second season. This is moving into fall. So again, we have different interpretations. Our upright meaning here is showing answers. Again, the unified esoteric tarot is all opportunities. Setbacks. Here is questions. Answers and questions will be reversed. This is for our autumn equinox. So we see here as we go into fall, the leaves are falling from the tree that was flourishing in the summer months. We're starting to see the move towards being more introvert, more retrospective. Make sure I got this. Yes. Again, opportunities. We are now into our winter months, represent Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. These signs that roll over the winter months. Barren, the solstice. So we have achievement and failure. Can go either way. These Taurus and Gemini. Spring equinox. to represent our seasons. We're going to go the first decan for summer, first decan for autumn, first decan for winter, and then spring, but comparing it between the two. Again, the meanings are still the same. So this is our first decan, Moon in Cancer, devotion, rationality. Again, throughout the Aquarian Hermetic, we have the time of influence and the decan right here of July 22nd to July 1st. Decans, just a quick reminder, the first decan is usually 0 to 10 degrees. Our second decan is 10 to 20, which represents the second part of the astrological month. And then from 20 to 30 represents the last week of the astrological month. They're all 10 days. So when you're looking at these, working with the decans, they're in 10-day increments. And here we're going to see the planets change because we're working with cups. While the planets change, but the sign still stays the same. The numbers will be changing to 3 and 4 of cups. Will be, let me see here, like our 3 of cups would be Pluto in Cancer. We have our first decan, Moon in Cancer. So the planet changes while the sign still stays the same. So now as we go into swords, same thing applies. Venus and Libra, you see the sign here. No planetary references in the Aquarian Hermetic. That's more in the Unified Esoteric Tarot. So that's why I was saying that this has more of a leaning towards astrology information, while here it's more focused on the elements and the alchemical aspect of the cards and the relationships. So we have compensation for our 2 of Swords, for 10 to 20 degrees, and then reversed is dependency. And this is Venus, Libra. And then we have the 2 of clubs there to represent air. So our sky, our background. And also if you look here, we have our triangle that places the air signs, Libra, Aquarius, Gemini, Saturn, and Capricorn, which is properly placed. Discipline versus culpability, responsibility. So again, these are 2 of discs. We have our time of influence and the decan that it represents, which is December 22nd to January 1st, so 10 days. This is 10 to 20 degrees. The spring season, 2 of Wands, Mars and Aries. Again, see the relationship here. The fire signs, and then we see Mars and Aries there. And then we have the 2 of clubs there to represent the fire aspect of the clubs. We have initiative, and then we have doubts. The fire imagery that we see throughout the Aquarian Hermetic, depending on where it's placed, the image is pretty much the same, but the white type font can sort of make it a little difficult to see. But it's viewable. You just kind of have to get familiar with the cards. I'm going to go through all of these. But that was our first decan, and our aces to represent the seasons of the elements. And our first decan representing the first 10 days into that particular astrological sign. So that's something to make reference to when doing readings with this deck. So what's interesting is I found this deck online while I was in the process of I think I already created my first or second video, and I came across this deck, and it's just like, whoa, wait a second. This deck is encompassing everything that I'm talking about, but it's not in the vein of the Rider-Waite-Smith. This is a theory, rational perspective of working with the tarot with this deck. And this deck is, as Attila had mentioned, is a scientific theory perspective on the elements, astrology, alchemy, how they all relate to the major and minor arcana, planets and whatnot. So it is a cerebral deck. That's just the best way that I can explain this deck. And so I had already stated this to Attila. If I had a choice between both decks, I'm leaning more to the Unified Esoteric Tarot because it has a simple black background. I can focus more on the images. This is just me visually. Well, here we have a photo image in the background. It's subtle, but depending on where your focus is and whatnot, it could be a little distracting for when it comes to seeing this information. It's just a matter of just setting your focus. But for the Unified Esoteric Tarot, it's straightforward, it's direct, has all the information that you need there. I also feel that I can combine these decks because they do have the court cards. Again, the difference between the two decks is just the design aspect and the information that's placed. The thing that I do like with the Aquarian Hermetic is just the imagery when it came to going into the astrological sign. I would have dropped this, but again, Attila could have been moving in a direction that these cards could be also used for cartomancy interpretation, and that's totally fine. It's clear that between these two decks, that when they were being created, they were to be used in a very multifaceted way, so that you could do astrology, alchemical interpretations. You could do tarot because it does cover the major and minor arcana. My favorite part of the Aquarian Hermetic is going through the astrological signs. They're just very beautiful symbology. My notes are on there. See, just very simple, straightforward, which I like. And if the colors were solid with the Aquarian Hermetic, I think it would have worked a little bit nicer instead of the grass and the fire and whatnot. But it's totally fine. It's not going to drive me popping in. I want to just quickly show you the back of the cards. This is the back of the Aquarian Hermetic. This is the back of the Unified Esoteric Tarot. Again, we have the first quarter and last quarter phase, depending on which way you see it. Flip it around. And we have the Tree of Life, different interpretations. So this deck is perfect. It's multifaceted. You could do a specific reading if you want with just the Tree of Life. Bring in some other cards that you have. I mentioned this, so I shouldn't say again. But Attila, the creator of both of these decks, spent 25 years learning, studying, practicing different systems to get to where he is in creating these decks. Another thing I want to point out is that this deck actually, in 2018, won the Carta Award, Carta, C-A-R-T-A, for Best Self-Published Deck. So his hard work was obviously recognized and was awarded. And granted, there are many tarot scholars. It's probably the best way to describe him, along with quite a few other people who've been researching the tarot and writing books about it. He takes different perspectives and he does his research. Some people will probably say, oh, he should have done his research emphasizing more of this, but this is his system. This is what he created, and this is what works for him. So I'm looking at my notes here. He described the Unified Esoteric Tarot as the deck for the age of Aquarius, even though some people are saying age of Pisces. But this is the deck for the age of Aquarius, quote unquote, the age of reason and the times of major changes and transformations. People can start seeing it, and then I'll go back and maybe timestamp it later. But I highly recommend this deck, but it's for people who really want to take the tarot a step further. They're wonderful guides. They're very easy, actually, when you look at the decks and you spend the day with them. They're very easy to get acquainted with. Again, it helps if you already have a background with the tarot and have some knowledge about astrology. Again, the placement of some of the signs and the planets are going to be off, but this is based on the system that he's created over 2 decades. So let's be open-minded when it comes to the tarot. One thing doesn't have to be the same. We're starting to see that. We're starting to see people interpreting the elements differently, the planets differently, the relationship to the major and minor arcana, the archetypes. So things are shifting, and it's wonderful. But there's not going to be one definitive answer. These are guides. These are guides that will help us to further understand our practice. So those are my words, my understanding of these aspects. So that's it. This is Amy, the Mystic Rose Tarot. My website is www.themysticrosetarot.com. I'm on Instagram under the Mystic Rose Tarot. Again, any questions, comments, please leave them below. You can reach me through my website. I am available to do readings. I love to do readings. I look forward to helping and guiding people on their journey and giving them some insight. And this deck is going to change that for me too. So I'm excited about that. Have a wonderful weekend. Look forward to seeing everyone via the internet soon. And until then, have a wonderful evening, day, morning.